One guy trying to get to his family on time, but everything just falls apart before him. On top of that, an annoying guy makes his journey more difficult. Welcome to the recap of a 1987 film, Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Neal is stuck in a meeting. He is worried he might not be able to catch his plane at 6 p.m. He rushes to the street where it's already crowded with fools like him waiting for taxi. Young Kevin Bacon and Neal spots a taxi at the same time. Now they are in a race to get to it. When Kevin Bacon gets stuck, Neal victoriously ran towards the taxi, except he hits something and falls down, almost getting killed. Kevin Bacon gets the taxi. He gloats and salutes Neal before taking off. Neal finds out this big luggage is the reason he fell. He finds a douche getting into a taxi. He pleads and haggles with the douche for the taxi while the taxi driver becomes frustrated. Another guy taps the trunk and gets his luggage inside it with the help of the driver. Neal eventually gives $75 to the douche, only to find the taxi leaving without him. He runs behind the taxi like a maniac. He frightens the guy in the taxi, Del, asking him to get out. Instead, the taxi leaves and Neal's suitcase gets smushed on the road. He takes a bus to the airport. It's 5:58 already, so he runs only to find out his flight is delayed. Neal's wife gets a call from Neal telling her he'll be late. Neal and Del, the guy who took his taxi, meet each other. Neal gets annoyed when he finds out he has to sit next to Del, who has no shame in taking his socks off and spreading the nasty smell around him. They land in O'Hare, and all other flights gets cancelled because of the snowstorm. Del suggests getting a motel room together. Neal hesitates, but he doesn't want to sleep on the floor, so he agrees. Neal finds out it's Del's luggage that almost got him killed before. They reached the hotel and pays for the room with their cards. The motel owner accidentally gives Del's card to Neal, and Neal takes it like a buffoon. Neal sees the room and gets weirded out since they have to share the bed. Neal couldn't find a towel because Del used them all up. When trying to sleep, Del makes sounds with his nose like a goat. That was the last straw for Neal. He shouts and curses at Del, calling him the most annoying guy he ever met. Del doesn't give a F what Neal thinks. His wife loves him, and that is enough for him. Neal regrets everything he said. While they were sleeping, this jackass steals all their money. Del snuggles and kisses Neal, thinking of his wife. Both men suppress their homosexual tendencies. Neal finds out Del's socks was in the water he used to wash his face. With disgust, he cleans his face with a cloth, then realizing the cloth was Del's huge underwear. When Neal tries to pay after having breakfast, he finds out all his cash is gone. He instantly accuses Del of stealing. Offended, Del asks Neal to check his wallet. It was also empty. The motel owner helps them get transport to the railway station in the back of a pickup truck. They arrive at the railway station, frozen, stared down by this angry dog. Neal and Del say goodbyes at the train station. While Neal peacefully rests in his seat, the train breaks down in the middle of nowhere. Neal looks at Del annoyed. Taking the hint, Del leaves him alone. Except Neal comes back and decides to join Del. Neal and Del take a bus together. Del, with his salesman's skill, makes some money for food. Neal, he can't wait to get to home, while Del tells him he hasn't been home in 8 years. Neal politely tells Del they'll not see each other again. Del accepts. Neal rents a car and searches for his car in the parking lot. Turns out there is no car in the spot. Bus that brought him to the parking spot leaves, which makes Neal go wild with anger. He walks the busy highway, slips in the snow, and almost gets killed. He angrily walks to the rental car place and vents his anger on the receptionist. Receptionist asks him to fudge off. Neal walks outside to hire a taxi, then mouths off to the guy there. Neal gets punched, falls down, and again almost gets killed. Del looks at Neal with concern. Del and Neal decide to drive together, each taking turns while the other drive. Del is still annoying. Before Neal sleeps, he places his wallet in the glove box for safety. Del smokes a cigarette while driving and throws it outside. The cigarette lands on the back seat. The car starts heating up. Del starts removing his coat, but it gets stuck under the seat. Del fidgets to remove it. In the meantime, the car drives itself to the exit road. Luckily, Del sees the stop sign and punches the brake hard. The car slips and rotates on the road, waking Neal. Del stupidly goes back the same road he came in. A couple tries to tell them they're driving on the wrong side. Neal understands them and sees two trucks rushing towards them. Neal screams at Del to look ahead. It was too late when Del sees the trucks. Their car gets mushed between the two trucks. Neal hallucinates that Del is the devil who is trying to unalive him. Del punches the brake and his big luggage flies over the car and lands on the road. They park the car and get the luggage from the middle of the road and rests on the top of it for a second. In the meantime, the car catches fire. Neal looks at the fire and starts laughing hysterically. Del joins. Neal was thinking that now Del has to pay a lot for the damage to the car. Del tells Neal it was Neal's credit card he used to rent the car, and he put it back into Neal's wallet when Neal wasn't looking, which is now burning inside the car. Neal shakes Del in tremendous anger. They reached a motel in what seems to be a still burning car. Neal gives his watch to the motel owner for a room, while Del's watch wasn't worth anything. Del scolds himself while trying to sleep in the car outside. Neal feels guilty and invites him to his room. Both men enjoys a good time with some alcohol, and they toast to their wives before going to sleep. In the morning, Del smashes the car into the room so they escape from there as fast as they could. They rode the rundown car while passerby looks at them bewildered. They drove beyond the speed limit, which made a policeman stop them and ask them to find other ways to travel. Del then convinces a truck driver to take them to Chicago, but it was inside the freezer of the truck. They say their goodbyes at the train station. Neal thinks about the fun time they had. He thinks about what Del said before, when he said his wife loves him, but he hasn't been to his home for 8 years. Neal goes back to the train station. He finds Del sitting there alone. Del tells him his wife has been dead for 8 years and he hasn't gone home since. Neal brings Del to his home and introduces him to his family. Neal embraces his wife as Del looks at them, happy. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.